Hello, Storytelling Ron, and I'm here to talk about or do a recap on Storm King's Thunder. This is the third session with some guys here in Hollywood. So I'm going to just go through it, explain to you how I DM and how I'm changing Storm King's Thunder campaign to focus it on the giants and not do a bunch of side quests or go off anywhere, do the Eye of the Allfather. It's really, to me, just giants is just going to be fun, or is fun in and of itself. And I don't need, I explained it in the previous video if you want to look at that, the first video on this playlist. But let me just go through recapping adventure number 3, which really had a good time. So this is the map I show them on the. We got a big widescreen TV behind us, and I pulled this up. And they did go to this trading post and did a quick recap of 2. Did all this, some fun stuff. The troll isle, they got the troll, the mysterious rock, which will come into play here, which is funny. They went to that rock curious looking for the troll, and then they climbed it. They all 3 failed, and I'm like, because I had a cool little thing at the top with an elven rune, like a moon rune, and if they sat there on a full moon night, they could get an answer to one question, like through the deity. So they all 3 failed. It was hilarious because the barbarian had a +6 athletics, and he still failed. And I'm like, well, don't just use that for some other thing. But they failed that. So the next day they're still at the North Trading. So on recap 3 now, they're still at the trading post. I'm going to do a little bit there, and then they go up along this road just a little ways, and along here I describe a lot of marshland and the lake and the river, and you really got to set up your scene. You really get just quick, nice descriptions of the marsh and the mist, and off in the distance they can see the sheen of the river. No boats are going up. Wonder why? Because they couldn't. Because when they started on in episode 1 at Waterdeep, nobody wanted to go up the road or up the river to help gather food from Goldenfields for the harvest because of the fear of the giants. And everyone's fleeing, and the farmers are fleeing, and their farms and homesteads are getting pillaged by goblins, and so there's a sort of increase of war going on, and no one seems to care. At least none of the lords or nobles at this point. And obviously, that's the simplest way to do any adventure, to get people motivated to actually do something, is having people suffer. And so that's what I was doing, and people are fleeing. Anyway, so they're going up with their one merchant along this road here, and they do eventually, at some point in the adventure, I do have them see that one ship coming up, and it's sailing crisscross up the river, trying to get north upriver with the winds to Goldenfields. And that will come into play at some point, I hope. But so they're traveling along here, and but let me start off with, going the wrong way. It's another town. These are the characters. The barbarian, Kerr. He's a new player, and he's really good. He's really hilarious. Kerr fight, Kerr charge. And then the tiefling, Amantha, and she has a demon, deal with a demon. That's a mystery that I'm building up in the story. And then Georg the ranger. Okay. So I start them off, they're done with the trading post, but that's where we're starting the recap or adventure 3. And I do, the monks are so happy that they destroyed the troll or killed the troll that they're rewarding them. So I'm going to give them I do reward them with a +1 shield for Kerr, so the barbarian. And it's just a master crafted shield, not a magic shield, just a master crafted, so it can break easily. Well, not easily, but it can break. But so they make him that the half ogre who's the Wainwright in the trading post, because they're just happy that they did something for them, and they can't give him money. And so, and this is the cool thing about the barbarian too, and he's learning as we go, is that he doesn't want to, he's got a double 2-handed battle axe, so he wants to use that in most damage. His armor class is 14, I believe, and the shield gives him a 2, but now 3. He's all kind of use that, and but he has to use a hand axe. So we explained that he can, obviously, what he can do with it, and this is what he's going to do with it in practice, or in theory, is he's going. Sorry, I'm burping in the morning, and I don't feel like editing it out. I'm just enjoying my coffee. He's going to use it for charging up, advancing, cover, give him cover, so I have an armor class of 17. with the hand axe, you throw a hand axe, and then as soon as he gets close enough, he'll drop it and charge with the battle axe. So that's kind of the strategy for the shield. And I'm not going to play out, did you remember to pick it up or anything like that? I don't do that and with arrows, because that's they do that. They're going to do that. And then Georg, which is George. Georg, he bought studded leather armor, but they're going to give him +1 stud, really fitted, really well, master crafted. So they have to work an extra day on that. And of course, the merchant's like, oh, we got to go. And, the monks persuade him and give him better horses, like a trade of horses. And but Amantha, now this is the cool thing. I had the monks go, we don't know what to give you, but you need answers, So I have, through divination, I have to tell that you have darkness around you and you get answers. And so that one was where I had her. Then I had them go to the rock with the monk. And it was kind of funny because it was like, hey, did you make that up after we couldn't get up on the rock? I'm like, no, it's already there. Wait, you all failed, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of funny. But anyway, I said like, oh, the monks the moss has been, someone's tried, mess with the moss. But here are some footholds to go up, on the rock. So that was kind of funny. So she went up on the rock and, asked her a question in the next full moon. And she asked, what do you want from me? Or why are you, And so I had to wear, some little nightmare visions and her heart beating, and then the monk pulls her off and, you can't, if it knows you're seeking, it'll crush your heart. And he goes, but I was given the answer by the goddess. And so he said, the demon wants you to be your slave. It's to be a slave to him, So I'm slowly feeding her, and I got to figure out the next level. And the thing about the rock, though, is I didn't know what he was going to ask. So I couldn't decide what level of whatever at that point. But then now I'm going to figure out another clue along the way somehow. And the monk did say, although I have divination, I don't have the powers or knowledge to help you with the demonology. So he can't help her anymore. But I'm going to have to, feed in it. And that makes that, and the guy playing her is very excited about all that. So that's a great little thing to do. Okay. So, I have here D&D. Okay. I got a funny thing that I haven't used yet, but I put it in here, Farmer Writer. And they're going to start calling him the group D&D, the farmers will. D&D. It's kind of funny because they consider the tiefling is a demon, and then the dragonborn is a dragon. So the dragon and the demon, D&D. So let's see if they get on that. It's kind of funny. Okay, so they let me get to the map. So I set up and I played on YouTube like drizzle, rain. You gotta have weather. Weather really is a fun thing. They start traveling. Going north and got to get to Goldenfields, and the merchant's impatient. Oh, another thing I did is bugs. I totally had them. They all had to save versus bugs, and no-see-ums and chiggums and ticks and fleas and all that. Because it's it's autumn, but the days are still warm, and though it's getting cooler at night, the bugs are hungry and want to get their last bit of blood before they hibernate. So they had just a 10-con save, and if they failed, 2 of them failed: the barbarian and the ranger. Tiefling was fine. She rolled a 20, I think. But the other 2 failed, and both of them are exhaustion level 1, which is disadvantage to ability score rolls. So, because they're very, they're getting bug bites and rashes and there's a marsh right next to them as they're traveling. So, and a funny thing I had was that the merchant actually had like bug spray or repellent, and I had them roll, but they all failed their insight to notice that, or perception, or whatever. But he's in his wagon. And finally, it was funny. The barbarian just went up and said to the merchant, "Do you have anything?" He goes, "Oh, yes, I do." So he bought it. The ranger, though, he I don't know, the player just wanted to tough it out, and so he was at disadvantage for most of this adventure because he just didn't want to. I even had to give him the option. The barbarian took all of them to heal so they could get up a level, because it's and he'll get the bug bites out of his system. And he did that too. So the barbarian kind of, did whatever he could to get rid of him, because they have little healing stuff. And the ranger just, I'm fine. Okay. So they did the marshland travel, or they're up against the marshes. I really described too the scene. On the right is all this growth and stuff. Oh, and right before this, on the hill, the rise, is what you want to do is add tension. on the rise, I added a goblin with a warg spotting them, and he's like 300 yards away. And they're like, oh, like, what do we do? What do we do? And it's sort of sleeking along there, and they barely see it. And finally, the ranger, they get the ranger to go as they're still traveling because the merchant wants to keep going. And he goes, well, the goblin on the warg left, or left. So he went up to the hill, and I got him to see a bit of the scenery, like get a scope of the land kind of thing, right in this area. I wish I could zoom in on this. Let me zoom just. And so yeah, right in this area right here, I made this sort of a hill, and he had a good view of this area, but it was still misty and rainy. The vision was low, but he saw a couple of them going along a path that was hidden along the marshes, sort of down below the road. And there's a lot of growth here, reeds and stuff sticking out. And of course, on this side is the hills, which didn't come into play, rolling hills, but everything came on this side did. And there was another warg sniffing along and following him, or coming up the hill, and he said, all right, I'm out of there. So he got out of there, so that was cool. It's nice to have a little tension, a little scare, and then get out of there. So we got back to the wagons, and they go along, and I build up another tension where they don't spot it. They fail their perceptions, but one of the guards they got two, first level guards on the wagons, and the old guard notices something along the road, and it's still rainy and misty. It's like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, but gray, and they're like nervous, and it's kind of cool. They're all deciding what to do. Is it a trap? Is it? Well, finally get up there. It's 3 dead guards, and they're all like, whoa. And of course, the ranger with his disadvantage fails his tracking and stuff to figure it all out. And the merchant comes out and sees them, and he said, I recognize those guards. They're merchant Vul's guards, another merchant. And so then they obviously can see tracks turning in the muddy road, knowing that there was a wagon there. And so the merchant says, yes, this merchant the other merchant will have a lot of valuables in whatever wagon they have. Obviously, they know the wagon was taking those goblin things. And they did a good roll on perceiving the weapon damage. It wasn't giants that killed them, so they're glad about that. But it was definitely a big axe or something that, so they're kind of okay. Goblins and something else. And so the tiefling with her warlock, she casts thaumaturgy, whatever I pronounce it, thaumaturgy, and does it like a bright light, and so that reveals through the reeds down below the road, broken reeds that the wagon must have gone through there. So they go through there, follow the road, and I quickly do just get to it. They see along the shoreline there's like a cliff overhang, and the shore of the lake, of this big marshy lake, and under there is a little campfire with 2 bugbears, 6 goblins, 2 wargs, and the wagon. So they see it right there, like 500 yards away, and the goblins and bugbears are all like just chilling and resting and eating food because they got the wagon, and they don't care. They're like not even guarding or anything. I just let them because they got the wagon. They're confident, arrogant. So what's cool is the tiefling decided, even though a lot of discussion here, but the tiefling went up around on the hill, the cliff, to look down at them. I should have took pictures of this, but anyway. But I was literally using the chip bowl that they were eating out of as the hill, as the cliff. They have a chip bowl, and then I had my little mini dudes, my little paper cutouts, underneath it. So the bugbears were there, and the chip bowl was here like a bowl, and that was the cliffside. So I just used the table. I didn't even draw it out. I like using. It's funny. I'll just grab whatever's on the table and use it as the props. Like if I see this cup, I'll just use it as, this is the tree, and then here's the rock over here, or whatever. Because most of this right now is outdoor anyway. So they used the chip bowl, and 2 bugbears were underneath it in the dry spot, and the goblins were kind of around, but still kind of drizzly, and then the shore, and there's 2 wargs resting in the fire in the wagon. And the barbarian wanted to swim through the lake and come up, but they just, no, because we want to stay a little bit closer together. What if you get attacked and we can't help you? So it was a good discussion. But anyway, the tiefling decided to carefully sneak up on the cliff and look down. The barbarian came along the shore, sneaking through the marsh plants, and the ranger was a little bit further back and was going to do his like sniper arrow stuff. And so the tiefling warlock, I had her slip. She slipped. She failed just athletics. It was wet. It was rainy, drizzly. So 1 through 10, she slips back. 11 through 20, she falls over and into the group. So that was fun. They rolled that. Woo! She rolled like a 3 or something, so she slipped backwards. So totally fine. The barbarian's waiting. What's going on? The ranger's waiting. The tension's building. They're all still sitting there. Oh, and one of the wargs does, perk up. And they're like, uh-oh. Then, smartly, wisely, the tiefling did the thaumaturgy again. That's little cantrip is coming in handy. And she did like a water splash, below as she crawls up to the edge of the cliff. Does like a water splash. And all of them turn around, the goblins and the wargs and the bugbear. And they're like, watch out for the grabbers. Watch out for the grabbers. Ooh, I have the mini over there, the grabber. Anyway, I drew this little grabber. I'm going to go get it. Let me pause this and I'll get it and show you. Okay, so this is my notebook of mini dudes. And I'm drawing a bunch of them. I'm on Patreon. I'm just a little cell. Patreon mini dudes, MINI dudes, DOODS. If you want to check it out. But see, it's cool is that some of these are internet acquired, but I'm starting to do all my original own stuff. Like these are all my own goblins and wargs, and look how many I have. And these are my giants and ogres for Storm King's Thunder. I have plenty bugbears. I put these in the wrong one. These should be the other one, but that's okay for now. These are required. Some of these are mine, and some of them are from the internet. But here is one of my drawings of a grabber, which is like a swamp grabber. It's sort of part turtle, part tentacle, scary thing. And this one just lies flat on the ground like that. And I kind of have various sizes of this thing. I should probably draw a couple more because I use them so much for marshes and swamps, And they have like I have it where they have two grappling type of tentacle attacks. Very painful, and then if they successfully grapple you then they get a really beak bite, and they got armor. They got a turtle shell, and they swim along slowly, lurking in the swamps. So imagine that coming up at you, giant size. So that's my grabber. I probably should draw more different kinds of these because these are fun to draw. But that was cool because that comes into play in a minute. So the barbarian was totally going to swim through there, and I was going to have him get it. But thankfully, they dissuaded him from doing that. And so the tiefling did her little thing, and the goblins are all yelling, grab it. And they're like, ooh, what's that? They didn't know at that point what a grabber was. And but then she does. But the goblins are all huddled together, like all defensive, because they know about the grabbers in the swamp marsh. So she saw that and burning hands. Man, she killed all 5 of them, just obliterated them. And then the barbarian charged at the bugbear, got one pretty good. He did this breath weapon, burned the 2 bugbears that were resting on the backside of the cliff in the dry spot, got them burned, and then he crushed them with the battle axe in the second turn or whatever. But they killed him really quickly. It was like, but one bugbear got away. I had him get away because I wanted to continue that story. So he snuck away the second one. And I rolled it all, so it was good. It's fair. But he got away, and he's got +6 stealth, so he's able to sneak away. And they killed the rest. And then one of the wargs was severely injured because the ranger did a 21 hit point or something, and the guy only had only had 5 left or something. So I was like, you know what? He don't want to fight. So he was limping away and going into the kind of splashing along the water along the shoreline, and that's when the grabber comes up and grabs him. So they get to see a grabber now. This giant thing come up and get one of the wargs, and they're like, whoa, they're thinking about killing him, but they're like, eh. So that's another fun thing to do, is always have that secondary, like the goblin on the hillside or whatever. Not every creature should be in a fight or combat. A lot of tension build is just sightings of, in the distance or secondary things, and that adds to the element of it all. So they got the wagon. And of course the merchant Vool is, and I had a funny thing where the Galay, their merchant, said, if you happen to see him and he's near death, leave him, so that kind of greedy. But otherwise, then we'll charge him 200 to save him plus his wagon, so they did a whole argument thing with that. And, as far as the payout and stuff. And in this one. So then they get the wagon, they're looking around at the crates and stuff, some of the sausage, that's been open because the goblins were eating it. So I gave it to where if they ate 2 sausages, they could get plus 1d4 false hit points or false life. Get extra hit points that they need, for the day kind of thing. I like to do little things like that because for me, and I said this in other videos, hit points aren't just wounds. Hit points have to do with wounds and energy and stress and strain and endurance. So it's all sort of combined together. And so if you have a good meal in you, I feel like you have a little extra oomph. So that's what I like to do with if they really take care of like getting the right food, give them a little extra hit points and stuff. For one day kind of thing. It'll go away the next day, but they'll have it for that day. And they need it because they. Anyway, the merchant, man, that's when I scared them. I just had one of the crates open, and they're all like, it's like, and it was Merchant Bull. He was hiding in the wagon, and he starts talking to them, and he's very snobby, and you rescued me, you've come to rescue me, and it's kind of funny. They were all annoyed, and at one point, the merchant was complaining about his horses because they were so damaged, and while I was doing that, they were talking amongst each other. The players were, and I liked that. I loved that because I was doing it, and he was complaining to them, and they were just talking to each other, ignoring him. And I told him early on, I said, because they're kind of new players, I said, look, when I'm the DM, yeah, listen to me. When I'm a character, you can do whatever you want. You can be rude to me, because at first when I was playing, I noticed they're all like, listening to my character intently, and then when I was done, they like thought, but I reminded them, you can totally, be rude, and it was great because when I was like, look at my horse, look at that, oh my god, they're like totally just, and you all need to do it, and he started complaining to them, and they totally were ignoring him and just trying to figure out what they wanted to do. That was totally cool, and I totally felt, oh my gosh, these guys are totally ignoring me. They don't even care, the merchant. So that was cool. So they finally made a deal with him. They were supposed to like take his wagon and give it to their merchant and then charge him an extortion fee to save him. But he made a deal with them, and he had a chest, a precious chest hidden underneath the wagon with 4 potions, 2 healing, a giant strength, and a damage resistance. And so he made a deal with them that just let him go. He'll give him something special. And they were kind of curious about what was special, and that was what it was. And they were like, cool, okay, whatever. So they let him go. I'm definitely gonna have him played up later, but because he has no guards, he's stuck in the marsh. He's gonna try to get up and go back down the road. But I think I'm gonna have the merchant bull say, no, I can't. I'm not gonna survive. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna go with them. And of course, he's gonna reveal himself to the other merchant. And they when they went back, they deceived the other merchant in saying that they never found him. And so he was all upset. But whatever, they had to get going. So they got going. Now, remember the other bugbear escaped. So, boom. So this is getting towards the end of the night. I went half an hour before I had to leave. They got ambushed. It was at night, in the dark. I really played that out. They could hear a warg traversing across the pathway. They tried to use their perception. Were failing. The Tielfing had dark vision. She rolled like a 1. They put the wagons on the road. Who was cool is the new guy. He first they had him like this, and I said the road is here. He goes, no, we put him this way, to block the road. So that was kind of interesting. But they were totally waiting, and finally the Tiefling, that was cool. She did the thaumaturgy again and did a bright light. Boom, totally revealed them all. And the bright light lasts a minute, and it kind of stunned them. So there was an ogre coming through the reeds. There was 2 bugbears sneaking up on different sides with goblins, and they had a great fight. And it was harrowing. I didn't know they were gonna make it. I was actually, because the ranger went down 3 times, and I had the merchant, in a desperate situation. He had I rolled a 20 for him, so I'm like, he's gonna really help them. So he had 2. I got him to rush to the ranger, give me a healing potion, and so the ranger was back in the game twice. He healed himself. He even had to heal the barbarian when he went down, because the barbarian was doing good, but there's just a bunch of them, and the tiefling was doing okay, making some mistakes. Like she used command, which failed on one of the bugbears. That would have actually helped a lot if she would have done that. But the thing that I think they didn't do was they should have used a couple of their potions, like the giant strength or their damage resistance. And they had some other healing stuff, but they could at least use one of those to really give one of the characters an extra because they really needed it. Because the ogre, I was rolling 20s on the ogre, and 3 of them I think, and that was bad. But they barely made it. I let that merchant, accomplish his task of healing two of them. With, I believe, two or maybe once, but whatever, he did it. Yeah, healing potions. Yeah, he used healing potions twice to get them, a couple of them back up. And it was a tough fight. What else? I keep saying I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn. I'm doing this, practicing and trying to get better at this. It was good. It was a good fight, and that was the end of the night. I had to leave right when they finally killed the ogre. Just Elder Blast. She used the Tielfing does their Elder Blast, just working it down. So it was a good fight, and they're fighting amongst the wagons, moving around. I like that there was a lot of movement too, as far as the Tiefling was moving around. And I didn't make every goblin attack every time. I wanted them to be a little stupid and a couple, greedy or whatever. So, and I was trying to be nice to them as well. But you don't have to make every goblin attack every round consistently. I made it so that they were, they did the old westerns where they had the, I don't know if you, I'm old now. They had the Indians just kind of go around scaring. I like to do stuff like that where they just kind of do odd things. Also, and one thing I didn't play out, or it just, I never rolled a fumble for any of the creatures. That was weird. I never rolled a 1. And I rolled a bunch of 20s, so that was tough on them. But I definitely I'm going to remind myself to really, really play on the fumble, especially for goblins, giants, ogres. Not the bugbears, I'm going to not necessarily, because I think they're smarter, because they have the stealth and all that. But definitely the giant, the ogres, and goblins. Whenever I roll a 1 through 4, I think I'm going to have them do something. Like 1 is really bad. Like they'll hit one of either they hit themselves, they just cut their foot off, or they hit one of their own, when they're swinging, and do damage to them. Then that'll probably end up in a fight. That's fumble 1. Fumble, if they roll a 2, I'll probably have them fall. They literally just fall or stumble or trip or something stupid. They're prone. And so on a 3, I'm going to have them lose their weapon or something breaks. When they break their weapon, because they're shoddy weapons. Something like that. And on a 4, I'm going to have them do something stupid, like instead of attack, they go, rah! They try to intimidate. I can see a ogre just, and you see that plenty of times in movies, where they instead of attacking, they just do something, think they're scaring the person. So on a 4, it's sort of a hesitation, or they lose their turn, or they just do something silly. So I'm going to start doing that, because I think that 1, that's going to really help the players, obviously, and 2, you want to put a bunch of things on them, but not overwhelm them with. I don't think the evil should be so consistently disciplined that they can fight effectively all the time, and that makes for good gameplay. Oh, and there was one when the Tiefling did the burning hands on the goblins below. It was funny. There was 5 of them, so all 5 of them failed their saves, and one of them, and I did them at disadvantage because they were, looking the other way and about for the grabbers in the water. They thought. So one of them failed. I rolled a 1 and a 1. I was like, dang, on the disadvantage. So save. So I had it. It was burning, and I had it turn and run and jump on a bugbear. Help me! And so that was hilarious. They all laughed. And it burned the bugbear. So the bugbear took like 1d6. So that was pretty funny. So you definitely want to play up those fumbles, because fumbles are funny and fun, and they add a lot of flavor to it. Okay, so that was the adventure. A lot of fun. That was 950 XP, so they already went up to 3rd level, because they're 2nd in this one. Whoa, went up to 3rd. I didn't realize how many XP it was. But that was recap number 3, and that's how I'm doing my Storm King's Thunder. I'm really and another thing is they did get to see. I think the ranger, after the first fight, he went up on the hills, before the finale of their ambush, and they did get to see right over here a big campsite in the dark, fires, right? And I said, you see a very big shadow, like silhouette along there. And the guys almost said giant. So there was a giant over there in this campsite. And they're like, oh, we're not going over there, man, because there's a couple of fires. And there, so I gave them a build up of there's a giant in the area. And they're very, like, oh, we're not going over there. We got to get out of here, So that was cool. Good tension. Another sighting of creatures, but don't mess with them. And in the ambush, they fought an ogre, so they got a sense of giants, and they're only 2nd level. So like, okay, this is tough. We need to, get ready for that in case we fight a giant. They got to be prepared, because So you build up that. Obviously, that's typical, but you build that up. But their giants are, from the get go, it's going to be like building up this fear of giants, and they're getting towards Goldenfields, and there's going to be an epic siege. I'm planning. I'm really planning like a good siege, not kind of a goofy feign siege, but this is really going to happen. And it's not going to be a huge war like there's a giants all around it. It's not going to be that. It's going to be one little area, and the bugbears have planned something sneaky to break the walls. But I'll go into that later. But anyway, all right, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, watching.